And people say, no, you need to be single to learn about yourself. I disagree. I actually disagree entirely, because you can learn things that you would never learn single, just like you would learn things when you are single that you wouldn't when you're in a relationship. But you're going to learn things that you'll never even thought about with yourself. And that is what you call a fight. And this is why I'm going to give you unsolicited relationship advice today. Hello, welcome back to the Girl Math Podcast. I'm Kori Blonde, your host. Today is Wildcard Wednesday, where you send in your dilemmas and I answer them. But today I'm going to do a little bit something different because I didn't really get any in. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's okay. It happens. I will be giving you unsolicited relationship advice today. Now, I have friends who are in the dating scene who have just been broken up with, newly single, or what have you. Many different scenarios. So with that being said, let's get into it. I want to start off by talking about dating. Now, one of my friends went on a crazy date today and has been going on some crazy dates because these people, it's hard out there. It's hard out there. These men be acting crazy for no reason. And she said to me that, I don't know what is wrong with these men, Kori, but they're all so self-absorbed. And I don't know if it's a London thing. I don't know if it's just a generic thing. But men nowadays, all they do is talk about themselves. And it just got me thinking, are we as women just accepting that? Do you know what I mean? Are we as women just kind of going on these dates and just being like, oh, he was nice, I'll go again. But then he ends up not really caring about you. Because these are red flags that I ignored previously, where a guy would just be talking about himself the whole time with perhaps a big ego. And then you get into the relationship and later on down the line, you start to realize, this guy really doesn't care about me. This guy really doesn't care about me. And I feel like that's probably one of the biggest red flags to look out for in dating, is that if a guy constantly talks about himself, I get it. It could be nerves. It could be ADHD. It could be just he's trying to relate to something, because I kind of do that, where if someone talks about themselves and they have a situation that I can relate to, I go, oh my God, like, yeah, same. But I think that's different. I think if it's a guy that's always talking about himself, doesn't ask where you're from, doesn't ask what your hobbies are, like, that is a red flag. And I'm pretty sure that should be a pretty clear one. But never ever go on a second date with a guy that only talks about himself. You know, like, you want to be setting the bar higher than that. Okay. Another red flag that I've been hearing within my friendships is men that want to split the bill. I feel like this is quite a controversial topic because it depends on what your values are and how you hold yourself. Some people, I think if you were to ask me a couple years ago, I would have said splitting the bill is fine. But now I kind of, as I get older, I think, no, my nails cost X amount of money, my hair costs X amount of money, my shoes cost X amount of money, probably combined cost more than the meal. So no, you can pay the bill. Like, respectfully. If I'm coming here looking presentable, being your trophy wife, you can pay for my bill. That might be harsh, but if you were to ask me a couple years ago, I would have said splitting the bill is fine. But now I kind of feel like if you want to, you can. I think women empowerment, you should. But also, I think you should let a man treat you, because I think a first date will tell all. If a guy wants to treat you like the princess you are, it's just going to set the bar. It's going to set the standard. And that's not to say you shouldn't ever not pay the bill or plan the dates, because I think planning dates doesn't just go one way. You should show that you're interested. So if a guy is making you split the bill, ask what his values are. Ask what kind of relationship he wants. Ask if he wants to be a provider, or it depends what you want. Okay, it depends what you want. If you want your man to be a provider, a sole provider that you can rely on or you can lean on if things get tough, or if you just want to have the princess treatment you want to have, then make that clear in the beginning. But if you want to have a 50-50 relationship, which I think is also equally fine and okay, then you want to set it early. I think it's really important in the first date or the first few dates is that you nip it in the bud early. I wouldn't be scared of scaring this man away, because realistically, if he's scared of conversations like this, then he's not ready for a relationship. Like, you have to have these hard conversations. Otherwise, when are they going to happen? Do you know what I mean? They're going to happen when it's too late and you've fallen in love, and then you realize that you don't have the same values or the same morals, and then it's just not going to work later on down the line. So nip it in the bud early. Like, you're not going to seem like a gold digger for asking if he wants to be the provider or not. It is up to you. like me personally, I'm in a relationship now where he is the provider, but also I would love to be 50-50. Like I'm the type of person, like I love to contribute to whatever I can because I have high goals as well. It's not just him that wants to achieve, like I want to achieve. And that's where I'm kind of working on it. Okay, I'm working on it in a sense. I'm still broke and unemployed, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. So having those conversations is really important because I've had friends that will come to me, and this is what the point I was going to make. I've had my friends come to me recently and they said, Kori, like it's not giving a man that I feel safe around. It's giving a man that I'd rather choose a bear with because he's just so emotionally unstable that it's like he could be a woman. Like he could be a woman sat across me and I wouldn't know the difference. Like I do truly think as a man in relationships, he has to be a lot more stable than the woman because let's be real here. As women, we're very emotional creatures and we cannot mix emotion with emotion because when we do that, it just explodes. And then the guy always thinks that you're causing an argument. You're not. You're just a week before your period, love. Some men get it, some men don't. And I think that's what's really hard to kind of tell off the bat of dating. I'm all one for female empowerment. And I really, truly do believe that women have happier, better lives when they have their own passions and things going on. And that's speaking from experience. But also I can understand that some women find joy in being a housewife and being that kind of woman. It's a hard one. You just have to realize what you want and then set that bar when you first meet them, because some people date to marry, some people date to date, and like whatever you want to do, cool. Like it's your life. It's your life. Do what you want. But if you both don't want the same thing and you realize later down the line when feelings have been caught, it just wastes so much energy, time, sadness, effort, money and everything at the end of the day. So you just need to nip that in the bud early. And if someone doesn't want to nip that in the bud early, they're avoidant and they don't want to be in a relationship too soon. They're just not ready. That is just the truth. You kind of want to just get the hard shit out the way first because it will really prove itself. Like a lot of people say, oh, just sit back and wait till they do something because it will show what they really want and their true intentions. But some things you just have to ask. Some things you just have to say. Because at the end of the day, if you're not clear with your communication and clear what you want, you're just wasting your time. You're simply wasting your time and that other person's time. We don't have long on this life, so you don't want to waste it with someone that is just not aligning with you. Do you know what I mean? We all want different things. It's rare to find someone that wants the same things as you. And even if you don't want the same things, you should have the same morals at least. And this is what I kind of thought about the other day, is that I've had so many friendships where they've not worked out and they've said, we're just different people, Kori. We're just different people. We're not going to work. It's not that we're different people, because you can be two completely different people and want two completely different things. But as long as you have the same morals, it will still work. I have friends now where we are two completely different people. One of my friends is going to Australia for the foreseeable future. Like she wants to go move out there and have that kind of life. And I couldn't personally think of anything worse. Like I couldn't think of anything worse, moving across the country and putting myself out there like that. But we have the same morals. Like we have the same things that we live by, and that just works. And it's just, don't let anyone ever tell you, oh, we're just different people. Because that is a cop-out. I want to know where we went wrong in our relationship, our friendship. I want to know how I can improve for next time. And it will give me clarity as to, okay, so it wasn't necessarily me that went wrong in the relationship. It was just we weren't aligning. And that goes with relationships as well. And that's what I'm saying. Like you need to align straight off the bat. Otherwise, if you don't, you're wasting your time. And if the man doesn't want to be clear about what he wants, he doesn't know what he wants. Or he's not ready for what he wants. And that should be a clear enough indication for you to just leave early before it's too late, you know? And it's hard because I know that in the dating scene, it can be very lonely and it can be very tough. So when you find a good guy and you might let a few things slide because you finally got this date and he's a good looking man, he's nice, he maybe treats you, whatever. But there are some things that you let slide. And then those things that you let slide in the beginning will always be the things that break you up in the end. It's so true. And that's probably one of the biggest pieces of dating advice I could ever give. Because I've heard it before where it's happened, where you'll argue over something minor in the beginning and it could be major to you, but you let it slide, you let it go because you're like, you know what, this guy, he's a good guy. I like him. He's got all the attributes that I want, bar this one thing. It might be minor, it might be big, and you just let it go. And it will bite you in the arse. It will. So that's what I've learned personally. I think in London, in big cities, even in small towns, hell, like it is impossible out there because you can be in a small town and think, there is no one here for me and the world is so big. Like there's bigger things out there and bigger fish to fry. And there's 1 million people in the world, 1 billion people in the world, 7 billion people in the world. Hell, maybe 8 billion. Oh my God, I don't know. I can't do maths, okay? But you get the gist. And you might be sitting there thinking, there's just more to life, you know? And that can be really hard in a small town. And I know that my friend that's moving to Australia, she's had a similar issue where, you know, she comes from a small town, so there's not a lot there. And the people that are there, bless them, just, you know, don't align with her. And I think she's just going to find a lot more going to Australia. And sometimes you just have to put yourself out there. Like as soon as I moved out to a bigger place in a bigger city, that's when I started meeting more light-hearted people, more like-minded people where we had the common interests or common themes in what we wanted out of life. Maybe not even common interests, because I have a lot of friends now where we don't have the same thing we want to achieve, but we want to achieve something, you know? And I think that's really important. Because you can be in relationships, going back to relationships, you can be in relationships where one person doesn't have a lot of drive or ambition, but you do, and you want so much more out of life, but they just simply don't. As much as you try and get them out to be, they don't. You can't change a man. That is one thing. You can never change a man. A man will always be what a man will always be, unless he truly wants to. And that goes with anyone. You can't change anyone, man or woman. I think women are more adaptable. I think women do change for men a lot of the time because we're pretty selfless, you know. We're pretty selfless in the fact that, you know, we put our emotions first because we're very emotional creatures. So we will want to change for other people because we want to keep them in our lives and we want them and we love them and we cherish them. But at the end of the day, men don't change for you, and that's the hard reality. If you don't align with someone and if you're having issues now, friendships, relationships, are you willing to let that go, let that slide and accept their differences? Or is the differences too big where you have to just part ways? That is probably one of the hardest, biggest decisions you can ever make. Because I've had friends that have given up on me or I've given up on them where our differences are just too big to maintain the friendship. And it's a hard decision to make, but stepping away from it now and looking back at my old friendships, I just think it was needed because we were just dragging each other down at the end of the day. And we weren't aligning. And it was just wasting our energies. And I just guess we both felt like we were draining each other. You know, when you come back from a hangout and you're like, oh, those people, I feel so drained and tired. I need to go to bed. And then other people, you come home and you're like, I just feel like I could do anything. I'm so happy. Like, and you want to keep around the people that you have that feeling with, where you come home and you're like, I have never laughed so hard in my life. Or I feel so good. I feel so refreshed. And that should happen in your relationships too. So, your romantic ones even. I feel like I speak a lot on friendship advice because to me, friendships are relationships at the end of the day. I hold my friendships as high as I do my romantic relationship. Like, I think friendships are so important because at the end of the day, your friendships should never leave you. If shit hit the fan, who would be there for you? Genuinely, who could you call on? Who could you count on to come at midnight to pick you up out of this hole that you're in to come save you? Who would do that? And if you can't name anyone in your friendship group, reevaluate. Even just picking up the phone, because I get it. I've had it at times where I've been so low that I don't feel like I can count on anyone. I feel like that's a little bit different because that's an internal thing. But I'm talking about if you truly, really needed someone, who would be there? Because I'm very particular with who I let in now. I'm pretty set with my friendships now. I'm pretty set. Like, I'm not willing to really let many more people in. And if I do, you got to be a hell of a good person. Like, you got to be a hell of a aligned with me, because trust issues are huge. And also, I've learned so much from my friendships that haven't worked out, where I'm just like, I don't want to waste my emotion or my time. Like, I feel so vulnerable in these friendships and relationships that I don't know if I want to be vulnerable again and open that wound up again. Like, I'm pretty closed off now. So just know that if you're a new friend of mine, you mean a lot to me. Okay, you mean a lot. But yeah. Anyways, so that's dating and friendships, I guess you could say. And now I want to talk about breakups, because I know someone that's going through a breakup at the moment, and it can feel like your whole world is crashing down on you. You know what's the scariest thing about men? Is that they can get up and leave. Sometimes they just wake up one day and just think, nah, don't want this, and just leave. Like, I'm not saying women don't do that, but a lot of the time women check out months before men. And what's scary about men is they can make you feel like the only girl in the world, 1 in a million, the prettiest girl to ever exist, and then switch up the next day and be this nasty person that leaves you for someone else, or calls you an ugly hag, or whatever it is. Like, they're either really good manipulators, or they can switch off their emotions like a light switch. Like, literally one day it can switch up. And that's where trusting yourself comes in, because you cannot trust a single soul on this planet. I was always raised by my mother to never trust anyone but yourself. Like, I don't know if that came from a lot of trauma from her end, but she always told me, Kori, it's never if you can trust a man, it's if you can trust yourself to deal with it. She taught me to always rely on you, because if you're relying on a man and things hit the fan, you have to build up from the ground up again. And that is probably sometimes necessary, but a majority of the time, building from the ground up is so hard, and probably one of the most traumatic things you'll have to do, because you have to then heal yourself, heal your heart, heal your emotions, whilst on top of trying to build yourself up again. It's probably one of the hardest things you'll ever do. So she said, Kori, you have to rely on you, solely you, and you can't trust anyone. You just have to trust the fact that you can deal with whatever comes at your way. You are strong enough to deal with it. And that's why it's important to make good friendships as well. Because if your relationship goes tits up and you don't have your girlfriends around you, maybe you left your girlfriends for the man, you're going to really struggle. And take that from me, because don't get me wrong, you can have these horrible men that will steer you away from all your friends and won't let you go out. Like, there are men like that in the world. So that's a different story. But when people get really wrapped up in their relationship, which I get, you get really wrapped up in it, and then they just leave their friends behind. But then when things go tits up, they expect their friends to pick up the pieces. And I'm like, a part of me gets that, and a part of me wants to be that friend. But then I'm also like, it shouldn't be my responsibility to pick up your pieces when you left me. But I also believe that friends should be there for everything. Because I've had friends where they've got in relationships and they've kind of distanced themselves from me, but then they've come back again when they've broken up, and then our friendship has blossomed even further. But then you think, oh, but if you get into a relationship again, will you do the same thing? I don't know. But at the end of the day, as long as you're a good person and you're there for your friends, it will come back to you in good ways. And I just think you can't ever go wrong with being nice to people and being supportive of people, because people are also learning themselves. I was that person that got rid of all my friends for a guy, and then really struggled when we broke up, because I just thought, I have no one. And it's a really isolating, horrible feeling. And that's why you have to kind of prepare yourself for the worst all the time and make sure that you have a good support system. That's just super important. But yeah, navigating breakups is a hard one. And the one thing I'd say is just make sure you have a good set of friends. Make sure you have a good set of friends around you, because like I said, you don't want to be suffering alone. Sometimes it's necessary, I will say that. Sometimes it's necessary to be alone. But you always need someone to talk to. You always need someone to talk to. Someone I know is having an issue in their breakup where her ex left her for someone else. And her ex met the new girl in the relationship. And one thing I'll say about that, when men are away from you, or when men are single, or if men are with their friends, that's who they truly are. I think as women, we get so blinded by men a lot of the times because we have these rose-tinted glasses on because we see them as how much we love them. Because we just think, oh, I love this person so much, so therefore they definitely love me as much as I love them because you're a loving person. But the reality is that when they're with their friends and they're being a dickhead, that's who they are. And that is where I will say sitting back and just observing is the best thing to do. You want to observe early doors, what they're like with their friends, what they're like around other people, when you're not there, or when you're not really involving yourself much, or when you're not talking, or when you're not the one sorting out all the dates, or whatever it is. That's why you have to kind of live by if he wanted to, he would kind of motto. And I know it's a very cliche thing to say, but it doesn't always apply. But if he wanted to, he would, in the sense of you should just sit back and observe and see what he does. Because if he's really trying, putting in the effort and being a nice guy, you've got a keeper. If he's being an arsehole with his friends towards you, or an arsehole with his friends, an arsehole to the waiter, it's just, they're all red flags, you know? And I know a lot of us are loving and caring people. So we always think the best of people, but sometimes that's not the case. And I think you should always see it for how it is. Be straight up, communicate early, and don't be afraid. Fear, when it comes to dating, can be really detrimental. If you are afraid of communicating early doors what you want, or if you have too much fear on letting them know that, okay, I don't align with this that you align with, or maybe accept the differences, you're going to struggle to make it work. And that's something I've learned. So don't let fear take you over. I think you need to be walking into the date ready, knowing what you want, having a list of things you want out of life. You've found yourself, you know what you want. You know the type of partner you're looking for. And I'm not going to say you need to know all these things, because I think that will still come with time in the relationship, because you need to be with people in order to learn what you want and what you don't want. It's very hard to kind of know and gauge being solely single forever. I think it's important to date. I think it's important to have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, because otherwise you won't learn. And I think you actually learn more about yourself in weird ways when you're in relationships than when you're not. Like, I can't describe it, but that's just the way it is. And people say, no, you need to be single to learn about yourself. I disagree. I actually disagree entirely, because you can learn things that you would never learn single, just like you would learn things when you are single that you wouldn't when you're in a relationship. But you're going to learn things that you'll never even thought about with yourself at a much faster rate. So that's why dating is important. That's why being in relationships is important. And I feel like when I have kids, I never want to stop them from being in relationships because I've had traumatic experiences with men. I remember my parents wouldn't let me date until I was older. I definitely think that was a good thing looking back, because my life before men, holy shit, I was so at peace. I had no anxiety. Well, I had anxiety, but I wasn't at the level of anxiety that I do now, because I've just been fucked up, brother. I just don't know what else to say. Men are scary creatures. I think you need to go through shit sometimes. You need to go through the shitty people in order to learn about yourself and get out the other end. Obviously, I don't advocate for the abuse side of things, because that is something that is impossible to get out of at times. And I wish I could be that person that never has had an issue, that's never had a bad experience, because I would feel so sheltered. But unfortunately, I know a little too much. I know a little too much about narcissists. I know a little too much about assholes. I know a little too much about bums. So it's like I got to the point of every time I had an issue or a dilemma with someone, friendship, relationship, whatever, I would full on find a book and read and learn, or even just search up on TikTok, why is this person like this? Or why does this person act like this? I was always searching for the why, and everyone's like, never search for the why because you'll never know. But I think deep down, if you do enough reflection, you'll know. You'll know because of their past traumas. You'll know why they're like because of this. But then also, when you find out why a person is like they are, it can really let a lot of shit slide. And that is kind of dangerous, but also a good thing. It's a good trait to have when you're empathetic. But also, you don't want to be too empathetic to the point where you get pissed on all the time. Golden showers and that. I think knowledge is power to an extent, but when you have too much knowledge, it can just be drown. You can just drown. You can think deep, but don't drown. And when you drown, hell, it's hard to get back up. Like, it's hard. Because there's been times in my relationship where I've deeped why he might act like he does sometimes. And then I get to the bottom of it and I'm like, that's why. And then we try and work through it. But that's the key word there. We try and work through it. It shouldn't be you trying to work through it. You trying to get him to be better or whatever. Because men don't change. They don't do shit unless they want to. So it's like, you can bring them a problem and be like, hey, do you remember you opened up about this? I've had a bit of reflection. I'm not saying this is why, but this could be a big reason as to why you act like this. And I just want to see if you would want to work through it maybe. And like, that's a really good approach, I think, with like a partner, because if you just see, okay, why are they acting like that? And if you both can work on it, then, or if he can work on it solely, then I think it will work. Like, that is probably one of the biggest secrets to relationships. Maybe. I don't know. Who am I to say? I don't know. I'm just a person. But yeah, I just think that's a common theme in like long-lasting relationships. Is that you have to forgive. Like, you just have to forgive. The amount of people that are old couples, the amount of times they've probably had to forgive each other is crazy. Forgiveness is a powerful, powerful thing in relationships. And I'm not saying you need to forgive for him doing the absolute worst. But I'm saying if you really want this to work and you both want to put in the work and the effort, forgiveness is a powerful tool. And once you learn how to forgive, your life will be so much more peaceful. And that is the moral of the story. So I hope I spoke somewhat facts. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the unsolicited relationship advice. And this has been Wildcard Wednesday, where normally I will get people's dilemmas in, but not many people sent any in this week. So I just came up with my own. And I won't stop doing these Wildcard Wednesdays because I know they're valuable to some people. And I love talking about unsolicited relationship advice. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you want to get yourself involved next week with Wildcard Wednesday, follow the Girl Math Pod Instagram @GirlMathPod. And I will speak to you on Sunday where we talk about everything Self-Care Sunday. So with that being said, I will see you guys this week, Sunday. I don't know anymore. I don't know what the day is. I forget. I'm unemployed. That's probably why.